evening, Gavin.
Good evening, TC, and welcome all to our weekly podcast, Terry Currans, a current view with the Ide of Hillsborough. Mr. Terry Curran, steady away, mate. How's your health? How are you doing? What's the
Well,
latest?
I'm picking up a little bit, but
Yeah.
the cough's lingering on. Each day I keep getting a bit. But I was at hospital yesterday. Still said my heart's still not beating right. Still got a regular, irregular heartbeat. But my blood pressure's come down.
Good. Well, that's a positive too.
That's a positive sign, yeah.
So keep taking the tablets, my boy. What magic moments have you sourced for us, T, this week?
Well, there's been a few. There's been a few as usual. Yeah. Pity I've missed one or two because there were some great goals in that Newcastle the other week. Newcastle against Man City.
Oh, wasn't the
But
joke.
this week I've gone for the not the Trossard first one, but his second one because the ball was played through to him.
Yeah.
And it was a similar finish to his first one. But they play some great football. I mean, they've had a few bad results lately as Arsenal, but they play some great football. Whether people look at the Crystal Palace didn't play well, sometimes when these teams like Arsenal, they can make you look a fool at times, and they did on Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday? Whatever it was, Saturday, I think.
Absolutely, too. They did. Crystal Palace, really the wheels have come off that wagon. Roy went back and supposedly saved them. Okay, they didn't get relegated. They might not have got relegated if they'd have started with Patrick Vieira. But this season, Palace really, okay, again, they've had a lot of injuries, but they played in the Cup the couple of nights before against Everton. I think it was Everton, wasn't it? And they took off easy, rested him for the Arsenal game, and then you get absolutely smashed against Arsenal. We've spoken about this many times on the podcast. I just don't understand it for the life of me. I don't.
Well, you see, the thing is, with managers when I will play, I would imagine it'll be the same now. Managers when I will play, they turn around and say you can't switch on and off.
Yeah.
In games, and you can't pick and choose your games. You've got to be mentally right for it, right? So when you're taking somebody off to rest him to play on Saturday again, 9 times out of 10 that drains the player they've taken off.
Yeah.
Not everybody's happy when they get taken off.
Mm.
And listen, by the way, that's Messi and Ronaldo. If they ever get taken off, they're not happy.
No.
So choose who you are. Chopping and changing the team like they do for these cup games. The Manchester Cities of this world can afford to do it because they've got 35 to 40 players.
Yeah.
And all they're doing is once you're on a bad run, the best way to get out of it is try and win every match you can.
Mm.
They think, oh, we'll give these players the rest, it's FA Cup, we'll try these other players. And then they're giving them bollockings because they haven't played for 6 or 7 weeks. Haven't got any match fitness. So they're back to square one. I mean, when you look at Vieira, when they sacked Vieira, every team, whoever it is, Manchester City's had it again this year. They only did bad patch.
Yep.
They fetched Roy Hodgson in last season. Look, Roy's been a fantastic manager throughout his career.
Mm.
Right? They sacked Vieira and replaced him with Hodgson.
Yep.
Vieira had just gone through the hardest period of games they were going to have. Right? Roy comes in, gets a load of easy games, keeps them up. Why didn't they make... I mean, don't forget, what is he? 74?
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's 74, isn't he?
74?
Yeah.
Why did he bring someone in for the new season? I don't know. But when you look at it, when you look at it all like that, people think you've done well. Now, he has done well throughout his career, like I've just said.
Mm.
But in that instance, whoever it was, whether it was Roy Hodgson or whether it had been Guardiola, they'd have found it difficult playing those games they had to play and hardly gain any results out of them. And then they got the easier games when they fetched Roy in and they had that run. They think, oh, he's done marvellous. But he hasn't, because when you look, he's hardly won any games from last season when the towards the end of it, because they started to lose a few then. And they haven't had a good start this season, really.
No, not at all. Absolutely. Well, again, we don't know, because we don't know what goes on inside the football club. But on the surface, I just didn't think it was a good shout to get rid of Patrick Vieira and bring Roy Hodgson
I'm
back
like
in.
you.
I just
I
didn't
agree
get that.
100%
Didn't
like you.
get that appointment, and I didn't get taking Eze off. They were only 1-0 down against Everton. Could have got back into that game. Could have been in the FA Cup fourth round this weekend. Who knows? You get a decent draw. You then may get into the fifth round. You progress in the FA Cup. The players have got something to play for, apart from trying to stay in the Premier League. I just don't get it. Some of the players, and we've said this many times on the pod too, all they've got to play for is mid-table mediocrity, because they've got no FA Cup, they've got no League Cup, they've got no cups to go for, because they put out a substandard team. And I just think it's absolute. Well, I just don't get it.
Again, I'll go back to when I was playing, and I know it's all changed.
Yeah.
Right? Once you got knocked out of the League Cup,
Yep.
and after Christmas you got knocked out of the FA Cup.
Yeah.
And if the teams weren't doing well,
yeah,
right, the rest of the season becomes boring. I used to speak to players what were in that position. They used to say, fucking training's horrible. We are at cups. And all we seem to do, because we're not winning, is running.
Yeah.
So I can't understand it. Why people don't want to be in cup competitions.
I know. I just don't get it. I do not understand it. I can only talk as a fan, but you were a player. It's no different now. Okay, it is slightly different, but the game's still the same. You're still in the League Cup, the FA Cup. You get knocked out, and you're just playing for survival.
The fans want to be in the cup competitions.
Of course they do.
Right?
I'm just saying, I can only speak as a fan.
Wages.
Yeah.
Right? But they face that impetus in to try and help the football club, and they get frustrated because of goal. And they've got 3 or 4 players left out of that certain game.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do they expect them to react?
Yeah.
They get disappointed when certain players are not playing.
Of course they do. Of course they do. They go down to watch them players. They're not playing. They get taken off and out the cup, and what they got to play for, just Premier League points. It's a joke. What I will say is, well done to Chelsea. They've just done a minute silence for Tommy Baldwin. Rest in peace, Sponge. He really was the leader of the pack. And as Alan always says to me, Sponge, he could smell a pub as soon as we landed on the tarmac. I mean, he was one of the kings of the King's Road. That Chelsea team of the 70s, absolutely iconic. And
if they would have broke it up, who knows how good that team could have been.
I think if they would have had another manager, if Waddington, Alan always says this, if Waddington would have gone to Chelsea rather than Hudson went to Stoke.
What happened to because we can go on about Waddington going to Chelsea. I know Alan likes him.
Yeah, he was too loyal.
And I know, there's a lot of players who I played with didn't like Tommy Docherty, but Tommy Docherty had that team.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Playing well.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got a sack or he left. And then they put Dave Sexton in charge, and he completely rocked the team up. Or brought the art of the team up, I should say.
There was a lot going on at Chelsea in them days. There's, I think it really stemmed from the infamous Blackpool trip. And although Alan's brother was there, he actually wasn't one of them that was doing what they shouldn't have been doing. And then when Alan got his debut at Chelsea, there was 4 Chelsea players found worse for weather in an establishment a stone's throw away from Stamford Bridge. So I think that there was a few things that went on, and the Doc left. But I think if the Doc would have had stayed at Chelsea, and was able to build.
Where did he go from there, Gabby? Can you remember? Or is it Villa?
I think he went abroad, didn't he? And then he
Did
come
he?
back and managed the Villa. Because, I mean, Tommy, brilliant at Chelsea and a great manager to boot. One of the iconic managers. But, I mean, took Villa down to third division.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, sometimes it doesn't
it
work
just
for him at certain
absolutely
clubs.
just didn't
But
work
at
for him at Villa.
Chelsea,
Yeah,
he got a team together there. What looked was going to be one hell of a team, didn't it?
absolutely. Yeah,
And then he did well for Manchester United.
yeah, he did. Again with that Chelsea team, and if they'd have just, I mean, Alan always says that he got on well with Dave. A lot of people thought that he didn't, but he did. But he just didn't. He was a coach. He wasn't a
Yeah.
manager. He shouldn't have been the Chelsea manager, in Alan's opinion.
I
And
mean,
Dave,
the coaches are trying to tell you how to play football, and you think to yourself, well, you weren't that good of a player.
yeah,
What makes me laugh is like golfers.
yeah.
They start to win tournaments, and all of a sudden they fetch a swing coach. Is it a swing coach?
Well, different coaches that've never played the
Coach
game.
him
I know.
to improve the swing. You think, well, hang on a bit, you're winning.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you don't hear them for 5 or 6 years then.
I know it's quite
Weird,
incredible.
isn't it?
It is, yeah, and whatever sport it is, you get the players that try and change things, break it down. I think golf in particular is one of them sports. But going back to Chelsea, it's just the way that it was, sadly. And then Osgood and Hudson got sold to pay for the East Stand.
How can let's take away a bit of, say there might be your mates and all that. But how can you sell Osgood and Hudson?
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's just criminal.
Yeah.
You've got the best midfield player, or arguably the best midfield player in the country at the time.
Yeah.
Right? All right, you can put Paulie and Curran amongst all that. Colin Bell, all them type of players, Billy Bremner, Johnny. You can put all them in. But they were as good. He was as good as any of them.
Absolutely.
Right? And Osgood was as good as anybody. Any striker. I mean, he broke into the team as a 16, 17-year-old, did Osgood.
Osgood was, when he went to Mexico, I mean, Bobby Moore actually commented to Alan. He says, "Your mate, he was golden." I don't know what all the fuss is about, because he got a bit of a reputation, hasn't he, Ozzy? But Bobby Moore said he was fantastic while they were away there in Mexico. And Alan says that had Ozzy come on, they'd have probably beaten Brazil when Jeff Astle had that chance and he missed.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Jeff was a great goal scorer, central striker as well. But, Peter Osgood, I think, was literally,
more technical.
Yeah, I mean, he was the king of
Stamford.
The king of Stamford Bridge. And in 1970, arguably the greatest centre forward in the world. And just, the mind boggles. But, England managers have always done that, been reluctant to play those players.
Like Hudson
Absolutely.
And Osgood and Chargers in his world. Hudson.
But they both got dropped for the it was game New Year's Day game at Sheffield United in 1974. So on the day before, and we've recorded it in Alan Hudson's My Life, My Music regular series, when they were both told that they wasn't going to play against Sheffield United, and as a consequence went to train with Dario Gradi. Well, a kid come running across the field and says, "Dave's going absolutely balmy, you better get over there to him." So as they were going over towards Sexton was coming over, and he gave him an absolute dressing down. In Alan's words, I thought they were going to come to blows, because they were always at it, him and Osgood. And it didn't come to blows, but he said to Osgood, "You'll never play for Chelsea again." And Alan intervened and says, "It's a bit harsh, Dave." And he said, "As for you, I've been trying to get rid of you for years." And that was it. Hudson and Osgood were placed on the transfer list.
Unbelievable, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. Football.
When you look at Fergie and Cantona, how we handled Cantona.
Yeah, brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's why they become great managers.
Hey, Eric, we don't
They
do
know how
things
to
like
handle
that.
all different types of players.
Yeah. I mean, Sharpie telling that story. Eric, we don't go around doing things like that. And that was it. But again, great managers know how to handle players, and you can be a coach. Alan always says this: you can be a coach or you can be a manager, and you can't be both. And unfortunately for Chelsea, really, Sexton was a good coach, but the man management, Alan never received it. He only received it then when he went to Stoke City, and as Alan said, he rebuilt not just his career but his life. Alan had fallen out of love with football, with his wife, with everything, and in his Svengali, Tony Waddington, he fixed a broken man, and blimey, didn't he get a result out of it. Results this week, TC, magic moments for me. I've got to mention, I know it's against your boys, but Ben Sheaf's goal against
Great
Wednesday,
goal.
it was the
Great goal.
way he moved that with his feet. I thought it was a tremendous goal. I love Stansfield and Bakuna's goal.
That Coventry, have a good footballing side.
Decent team they are. He's done a really good
And I
job,
mean, they
Mark
sold one or
Robbins.
two players, so I mean, they set off not particularly well.
Yeah.
But I like Mark Robbins.
I think he's done a fabulous job. I mean, again, a
He's done
dark
more
horse.
than a fabulous job at Coventry. The position they've been in over these last few years.
He sold his main goal for it, didn't he? I think he went to Sporting Lisbon. He sold Aimer to Sheffield United. And you're right, when you get so close and a penalty kick away from going to the Premier League, it must knock the stuffing out of players. And when arguably your two best players have been sold as well, but they've
on top of that they had
fought
owned the
away.
ground for I don't know how long.
Absolutely, yeah. And
playing at Birmingham City's ground.
yeah,
it's good of Birmingham to for him to allow it.
Yeah. I mean, they've been at the
It's
Rico
better to
for
be
some
playing
time
on
now.
that than playing on a
100%.
semi-pro ground type of ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they've got the roots
But
back
he
at the
still takes
Rico.
it out of you, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
of course it does. I mean, everything that Coventry have endured over the last 3 to 5 years has been insane. And again with that penalty kick, and they've kind of rejuvenated themselves as the season's progressed, and now they're in the top 6. And I wouldn't put it past Coventry to return to the Premier League, and good luck to them. Middlesbrough versus Chelsea, Stamford Bridge. It looks like Chelsea, yes, they've just gone one up. I saw pictures of Bernie Slaven at the bridge earlier on his social medias, and I did comment it looks a little bit less lively than it did in the playoffs in the 80s. Because if you remember, he played in that game and it proper kicked off, didn't it? Chelsea versus Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget back in those days, games were always kicking off, and whether it were players on the pitch or whether it were fans in the stand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing as well is there's no VAR in the League Cup, because
that's a plus.
It is, yeah, because the first game was played at the Riverside Championship ground, so there's no VAR. And in the replay now, the Football League have said because you couldn't have it in the one game, you can't have it in the second game. Whereas the FA Cup, it's slightly different. In some games there's VAR, in some games there isn't VAR, and in some replays there can be VAR, where there wasn't in the original game. It's madness.
Did you watch the Sheffield United game on Sunday?
No, I didn't. No.
This has nothing to do with to pull Sheffield United down.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a penalty. Right? 6 minutes added on.
Yeah.
The referee books the player when you can see it's blatantly a red card.
Yeah.
Then they finish up, it's like 13 minutes added on.
Yeah.
Right? The keeper's come out. He's not even touched Ollie McBurney. And they've given a penalty. Not even looked at VAR. And then, within seconds after they scored, they've got a ball into the box as West Ham.
Yeah.
The player's got hold of, is it Bowden?
Yeah,
and
Bowden.
He's got him. He's facing Bowden. Bowden's facing the goal. Brings him down, like a rugby tackle.
Yeah.
Again, they don't look at VAR. So, what is the VAR all about? That's what I said to you.
Yeah.
You finish up talking about a VAR.
Yeah.
Everything is planned. Everything is completely planned.
It's quite incredible how they look at some things and don't look at others. I must admit, I don't know. Have you seen any of the AFCON during the tournaments on now and the Asian Cups on now? But
No.
on Sky, they've got all the AFCON games. I haven't really seen any. I was just watching it a little bit before the podcast tonight, and the Gambia, they were 3-2 down. Cameroon had scored a late winner, and then in about the 94th minute, they had a corner. Balls come in, and the fella, as like a Harlem Globetrotter, he's just like palmed the ball into the back of the net. And they went to VAR, obviously, and they disallowed it. But the referee had to look at that about 3 times. I looked at it once and thought, oh my days. I mean, it was no Diego Maradona. It was awful. But the levels that players will go to, and also before I'm going on to Foamgate with Ivan Toney, I'd like your opinion on that too. Jesus Ariso's goal for Osasuna, it wasn't particularly meant, but I think maybe a little bit of wind assisted, or the way he cut across the ball. Our garden's a bit wind assisted now. That tornado or storm or whatever it's just hit us.
It's caught it right.
Yeah.
For a cross.
It's an unbelievable.
But the balls today swerve like I don't know what.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
And when you look at that, it's impossible for him to score.
Yeah, it is.
Impossible.
Yeah, but he did.
Right? In fact, it's a bad cross.
Yeah, it is really, because it went in the back of the net.
It's a bad cross.
Yeah,
and the ball then is completely beat the keeper.
Yeah.
But it just shows you.
Yeah.
I mean, they make me laugh. It's nothing to do with comparing, but it makes me laugh when they keep saying about today's footballers. They won't be able to play with them balls like Bobby Charlton on them.
No, not at all. No.
I mean, I was a kid and I played with those type of balls as a kid.
No.
Yeah. But it just shows you how the balls move today, doesn't it?
I don't think there's a player today that could play in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. You got the pitches, you got the boots, you got everything else.
I think your best players will always adjust, Cap. I do.
Yeah, to be fair, yes. But
I think the great players will always adjust.
Yeah, they probably will in time. But wouldn't it be a culture shock?
Now, you look at Messi, and then you look at Johnny Giles, and you look at Billy Bremner, they were a similar type of size player, weren't they?
Yeah.
And even though they dished a lot of it out, they took a lot themselves.
Oh, without a doubt.
That's the only thing when I look at with Messi is, I mean, Pele, some of the World Cups, we didn't see him out in Sao Paulo because we didn't see the games.
Kicked out of 66, wasn't he? Yeah.
They took him out of some tournaments. So they'd have done the same with Messi and Ronaldo back in the day.
Yeah, and that's what I say about the modern player.
Always adjust.
Yeah, and they would need an awful lot of adjusting, the modern day player. I mean, they go down now by being breathed upon.
It's easier to adjust back then than it is now.
Yeah.
Because you're playing on better pitches today. You're playing with better balls.
100%.
They would have to go and play on bad pitches.
It'd be great if you could get a time capsule and put the modern day player back to the 60s and just put them in a game and then after the game interview them and how did that feel? I think they'd be soon jumping in that time capsule to get back to 2024. It would be such a culture
rolling
shock.
About. Listen, before the tackle come in, they'd have gone down rolling about.
Exactly. Imagine, the stick that you had.
I'm not getting back up to get some of that, more of that.
Absolutely, too. Ivan Toney, Foamgate. What was your take on that?
On what?
Did you see Ivan Toney when he moved the football?
Oh yeah, that's what I was asking you on what.
Yeah.
On his suspension and coming back, scoring a goal.
Yeah.
I mean, as well as I do. Everybody will cheat a little bit.
Of course they will.
Jihad, won't they?
Of course they will. 100%.
Move the ball from a free kick.
100%.
Right. So when does the VAR come into it? Why did the VAR turn around and say, hang on a bit, he's moved that ball?
Yeah.
Because that is giving him advantage. That'd be a great goal. That's the reason why I could have put that in because it was a great free kick.
Brilliant.
But, for some unknown reason, they just like you just said a minute ago, they let certain things go.
Yep.
And there's certain things you think, well, what have you done that for?
Absolutely. Could you imagine Cloughie if Forrest had lined up a wall like that in Cloughie's day? Young man, I think he'd be having a word with him.
Listen, that annoys me. I don't get annoyed watching football.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people do.
Mm.
But that annoys me. You know when they get laid down behind the wall.
Yeah, the draft excluder, as they call it. Yeah.
How meant the draft excluder?
That's what they call it, don't they? They call it a draft
Do me a
excluder.
favour.
I know.
How many times do you think they will score under the wall?
Very, very, very
Odds,
rarely.
every 20,
Yeah,
or every
very,
40,
very rarely.
or
Very
every
rarely.
60.
Yeah.
Pathetic, man.
I know. It's the modern game, isn't it? We got to have on every free kick a bloke lying on the floor.
Yeah, by the way,
Unbelievable, Jeff.
there's 7 or 8 analysts working that out for them all.
Oh, absolutely, T. Well, as I say, they have these coaches for free kicks, etc., now. But no, what I was laughing at with Ivan Toney, he didn't just move the ball, but he picked up that foam as well. So he's picked up the foam, he's moved the foam, and then he's moved the ball. So when the referee had a double take, he said, "Well, it's still where the foam is." I mean, it was very, again, gamesmanship, brinksmanship, whatever way you want to call it. You know, players have always done that, always will do. What got me, I mean, Forrest had moaned about it, but the only thing that I would be moaning about is why, with my wall, as you've lined it up, you've seen him move the ball. Why hasn't the ball moved over with the ball? I don't get it. It's quite unbelievable, really.
I'll tell you
It's all
what
they
should have
needed to
happened.
do. Move
One
the
of the
ball
players
over.
should have come out of the wall and gone straight over and stopped it.
Maybe.
And then said to the ref, look,
Yeah.
he's taking it out to the water, down to the half circle. You know when they put the spray on.
And the referee would say, no, the spray's still there. No, he's moved the spray as well. No,
So
he
you
hasn't.
can say, well, what about the player getting booked?
Yeah.
Well, it's better to get booked than cost them a goal.
Absolutely.
But if the referee sees the ball's being moved, you'll not book him.
Yeah. But fair play to Ivan Toney, and great to see him back. Book Corner TC. We've got a few. We're going to do Book of the Month, and this month it's going to be Ojogo Bonito. It's Brazil's 1970 World Cup Samba Party by Gary Thacker. I'm going to be doing a podcast in February with Gary talking about that book. And the first question I'm going to ask Gary is, where'd you come up with that bloody title from? I mean, it's one hell of a title, Ojogo Bonito. I mean, it sounds like a song. It probably is the song from the Samba Party, but Brazil from 1970. Always going to be a good read, and always great to write about those. Well, arguably the
that's
greatest
a big
team
plus,
ever.
you know, getting the title right, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Calling the book the right name.
Yeah. I'm really looking for. I've interviewed, done podcasts with Gary before about his Chelsea book and Bridesmaids, beautiful bridesmaids dressed in orange, about the wonderful Dutch team and also the all-conquering Ajax side. So it's a book that's going to be on my bookshelf. Looking forward to it coming out. It comes out in February, and looking forward to making another podcast with me mate Gary Thacker, who is part of These Football Times, a group of journalists that do some fantastic podcasts. So look out for them, look out for Gary, and look out for the book Ojogo Bonito, Brazil's 1970 World Cup Samba Party.
It does rhyme though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's a great title. I think it's a great title, I do. And I think it's going to be a great book as well. The G-Men, the revealing portrait of Greaves and Gilzean by Norman Giller. I mean, what a partnership! You know, when we're looking at partners,
they were deadly together.
They were one of the greatest partnerships ever, weren't they? Gilzean and Greaves.
Brilliant.
I mean, like, I suppose, like Morecambe and Wiley, like any great part, they just are. When you look back, and certainly when you look at the annals of football, they were as good as it comes.
Anybody.
Yeah, absolutely, and as good as it. Well, we don't have partners these days, really. Now we have one up front.
I mean, it made me laugh when people say, "Oh, they're telepathic, these two strikers." No, what it is, they're technically gifted.
Absolutely,
and they're very good at passing. They're very good at understanding. Somebody will make that run.
Do you remember when Toshak and Keegan, they done that, and they done a piece, didn't they, on television, because they reckon that they were telepathic and they were doing things, but I think it was either one of the two, Keegan and Toshak, when they was.
And to listen to the rest of this podcast, head on over to www.patreon.com/SRBmedia. Thank you.